make bread today, and I'm going to do this little video. Hopefully it'll work, and show you how I make bread. I'm making an extremely large batch of bread because some of this will be sold at the fair tomorrow, the Cleveland County Fair. So I'm going to just share with you what I'm making, and I'll post a recipe to go with it. This is the sandwich bread that I make. This is white. It's not whole wheat. Pretty much the same process. If you're grinding your wheat, you usually don't have to use as much yeast. It rises much quicker. So, but again, I'm just using store-bought, all-purpose flour. This takes milk, warm water, active dry yeast, and I get mine either from Sam's or from Bread Baker's, Fleshman's. I don't know if y'all see that. Fleshman's instant dry yeast. Honey, feed store or co-op or the extension service in your county, they can usually tell you where you can buy local honey from a beekeeper. We need salt, oil, a little bit of sugar, and some egg, and the egg is for glazing the bread as you put it in the oven to get that really pretty, nice, brown, glaze. The first thing I do when I make the bread is start my yeast, proofing my yeast. Now, I've already done that. I don't know how well you can see it. The thing to remember about yeast, stir, is that you need everything to be warm because cold will kill it. Now, when I say warm, I don't mean hot. And I know some cookbooks tell you to have your water 105 degrees or something like that. Well, I did that for years. I would measure the temperature. Well, you know what? That didn't work. I ended up with dead yeast. My bread wouldn't rise. It was like a big brick. I could have constructed a building out of those loaves of bread. And in the end, I usually ended up throwing it out in the chicken coop because nobody could eat it. So what you're shooting for is baby bath water. What you would put a newborn baby in to give them a bath. That's the warm temperature you're wanting. So I always start my hot water running on my faucet, and then I hold my wrist in there to get the feel of it. And when it feels like it's something I'd put one of my little grandbabies in for a bath, that's perfect. That being said, every ingredient that goes in your bread needs to be warm. You don't need to add cold honey that's been sitting out in your storage building, in your pantry or something. You don't need to add cold flour. If you store your flour in the freezer, you need to get it out. You need to let it warm up to room temperature. If you're using this is a pottery bowl, or if you're using a metal bowl, you could even run warm water in that to warm it up. Everything needs to be warm. This recipe calls for milk. So the first thing I do, now this recipe doesn't call for scalded milk, so I didn't have to heat it quite that much. But it did call for milk, and so the first thing I do is warm up my milk. You don't pour cold milk in there. So let's try to get started here. I've added my yeast to my water and let it proof, and I know you can't see it, but it's very bubbly. If I leave it sitting here on the counter, it will bubble up and fill up this little cup and run over, which it did the other night. And I came in here and it was like a I Love Lucy episode where I had yeast water running all over the counter. So I do my yeast in my water, and then I'm going to add my liquid ingredients. So I'm going to get a spatula because I don't want to waste any and let it be stuck to the bowl. So I'm pouring this in here first in my large bowl. Now, y'all may end up laughing at me by the time this is over because I may be like Julia Child and have gunk all over the counter and everything else. But So there's bowl is warm, yeast water is warm. Now I'm going to check with my finger. My hands are clean. Okay, my milk is perfect. But before I pour it in there, I'm going to add my other ingredients. I need honey. Like I said, I'm going to add this recipe with the video, but now remember, my ingredient amounts are going to be much larger than what you would use because I'm making like a quadruple batch of bread. This is oil. You want to be super, super healthy, you can do olive oil. It works just fine. So I need to add, I'm reading my recipe. I've been making bread for 30 years. I put in my honey, my oil, my salt. I need 6 teaspoons of salt. Like I said, this is a huge recipe. You will not need this much. And got my oil. I'm going to put in my milk. That. Like I said, I always scrape my pan so I get everything that was supposed to go in there. Now I always use a whisk to whisk up everything at the beginning. And then I'm going to start putting in my flour. And just double check. I start with a small amount of flour because I want to be able to mix it in really well and not have such a big amount to work with at first. But because I'm working with a large recipe, I'm going to end up adding about 15 cups of flour. So just add in, and then like I said, I whisk it first to get it all mixed in. Now I don't heat up my flour, I just let it be at room temperature. Just remember, a lot of times when you're having trouble getting your bread to rise, it's really because probably you've killed your yeast. You've either given it too much cold or too much hot. And I'll just say this, I've never used a bread machine. So I have no idea how those things work. I have no idea what you do with them, so I can't help you there if you're using a bread machine. Add a little more flour. The other night I was making raisin bread, which I'm going to make after I make this, but it is such a large batch. I had to get Paul in here to help me stir. So when I get this video and edit it, I'm going to cut out a lot of this so you don't have to stand there watching me mix. My dough mixed up. Everybody does this different. I'm not saying that my way is right. I'm just showing you what I do. Okay, I have this little sieve, little strainer thing. So when I'm making bread, I put my flour in here and I set it in a bowl. And then when I want to dust my counter, yay, there we go. It does a really light dusting. Just a little tip. I think it works well. And so now, get my bowl when I need it. Now, all of my dough is in here. This is going to be a big gloppy mess. This is where I start looking like a wacky cook. I'm going to flour my hands really well. Pour out my dough. Like that. Again, large recipe. You will not probably be using this much to make your bread. So, more flour because it is sticky. Now, the next thing I want to tell you about kneading your dough. I know that most recipes and books and all tell you to knead your dough for like 10 minutes. Well, I don't do that. I tried a few times because I thought, well, maybe the bread will just be so much better if I knead it for 10 minutes. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just more violent with my bread dough when I'm kneading or something, but to do it for 10 minutes, I think it's just way overkill. You know, it says to release the gluten action or something. I don't know. But I don't knead it for 10 minutes. I knead it until it's smooth and elastic, like, you know, where you push down and it springs back. Usually that takes me about 5 or 6 minutes. If everything's warm and if it's mixed up right, I don't think it should take you 10 minutes. So what I do, you see I keep adding flour to my fingers because my dough is light. What I do is I flip the bottom to the top, press with the heel of my hand, and rotate. Top to bottom, press, rotate. You know, you just keep going. You find your method. Bottom to top, or top to bottom, rotate, side to side, whatever you need to do that's your rhythm. If you're left-handed, you're probably going to go another way. But every now and then when it gets sticky down at the bottom, because I was talking and did not add more flour, have to scrape it up and do it again. But this is it. I mean, what you're going for now is that smooth, elasticy feel. One of the things you need to be aware of is to not add too much flour because you don't want your dough really dry. And you can certainly add way too much in this process. I don't mind a little bit of stickiness in my dough, especially if it's a really light bread like a finished Pula or something like that. But just want to make, and you can see, well, I don't know if you can see now, but when I push on it, it's coming back to its shape, you know, puffing up, becoming elasticy. Is that a word, elasticy? Anyway, we're getting there. Much smoother, much nicer. And I can feel with my hands that it's rising even as I'm kneading it. And that's where I want to be. Now the next step is to put it in an oiled bowl and let it rise. Now, flip this in there, flip it again so that it oils both sides, and then cover it with a cloth, flour sack towel or something like that. Some recipes tell you to cover it with plastic wrap. Some recipes tell you to dampen the cloth. Just follow whatever that recipe says. So I'm oiling my bowl. A little napkin, pour a little oil in here. Oil my bowl. I don't want it soppy. I just want it shiny and slick. My dough, flip over, cover with a flour sack towel. Now, I set it over here in a warm place, and I let it sit for about, well, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how warm the room is. Okay, so the dough has been rising about 30 minutes, something like that. And I wanted to show you because you have to know when the dough is done rising. So here's what it looks like in the bowl. And what I do is I poke my finger in it like that. Now if the dough, the hole remains, I don't know if you can see it, it's done. If it doesn't fill back in. So you have to kind of watch it for a second. This is obviously not done because the dough has pretty much filled right back in. Can you see that? It's still puffy. It's still rising. It's closing that hole back up. So we're going to wait a little while longer. And we'll come back and check it in a little bit. I think we're there. Now remember, we're looking for the poke a hole and it not fill back in. Ta-da! Can you see it? Okay, so now we're going to turn it out on a lightly floured surface to do the forming of the loaves and putting them in the pan for the next rise. Turn this down just a little so you can see more of the counter than of me. Yay! So, touch the dough down like that. Some recipes tell you that you punch the dough down and let it rest for a little bit. This recipe, that's not required. So here it is. Here's my dough cutter. If you don't have a dough cutter, I love it. It's a scraper, it's a cutter, it does everything. So what I'm going to do is cut my dough. I've already got my loaf pans, oiled, grease, whatever you want to call it. I use oil. Ready. Put a little more flour under here so it doesn't stick. And I'm going to cut my dough in equal portions. Now, this is fairly simple, but amazingly, a lot of folks have trouble. There's nothing to forming a loaf. You just kind of flop it out, roll it up, tuck in the ends, and put it in your pan. I kind of smash mine down because I want it to rise full. I know some folks don't do that, but I like to. So, there we go. Now I'm going to let this rise till doubled. Really, I just kind of get it up where I think it's doubled, but maybe just right to the top edge, because when you put it in the oven, it's going to rise more, and I don't like it to have all those big edges on it. But there you go. There's your bread. I'm going to let that rise. And I'm making some more loaves here. Now, let's say you made your loaf too big. You rolled it, you put it in your pan, and it looks like there's too much in there. Just cut some off and reshape it. It's really not that big a problem. Okay, I just did this whole process thinking I'd hit record. Hello, but I didn't. So, I've got the camera turned down so you can see the bread. It has risen, it's doubled in size, ready to go in the oven. I've just glazed it with an egg wash. Once your bread has risen fully, it's ready to go in. You can just brush it on with, this is just egg whipped up. There's nothing else in it. You can put water in it. You can put salt in it, whatever you want. So I've got that all done. All the bread's glazed. And I'm going to put it in 350 degrees. Cook for about 35 minutes. One trick about your bread, if you put bread in a too hot oven, you can cause damage. So that's another problem. Folks aren't checking the temperature of their oven. If you're making your bread and you forgot to preheat your oven and you got to get it hot quick, if you have broil, you can put it on broil for just a few minutes and it'll increase the temperature really fast. But you've got to watch it because you don't want to get it too hot. Of course, you don't do that when your bread is in there. You leave your bread out, preheat the oven, get it to the temperature, and then gently slide your bread in. If you bang it or drop it in there, you're going to deflate your bread, especially if you've gotten it a little over-risen. So, check the temperature of your oven first. Make sure it goes in the center rack. Make sure you don't overload the oven so the air can't circulate. Okay, this is going to go in the oven, and I'll come back as soon as it's done. It's out of the oven so you can see the loaves. Ta-da! But anyway, so there they are. There we are. Good old homemade sandwich bread. Brown, nice. Yummy, yummy for the tummy. I know you'll have questions. You can write me with questions because I'm sure I didn't explain it well. But I hope y'all enjoy it. And if you make bread and use this to help you, please send me a picture. Facebook me or something. And let me know what your bread looks like. And thank you. God bless you. And I hope you have many years of good bread making. Bye.